You're listening to Zack Ciota, founder of WorkingJoesRoundtable.com, and this is the Working Joes Podcast. Well, guys, welcome back to the Working Joes Podcast. I'm here with my brand new co-host and long-time...
That's a great...
Well, you are the co-host now. It's Ralph Wolf, everybody.
I like it.
Well, Ralph is more accomplished than I am, so by getting Ralph Wolf on this show, I give myself some credibility and bring in all those fans.
I don't know about accomplished now. Come on.
Well, when we say I've been doing this for a blank amount of years, your years are more than mine.
Yeah, well, not by much.
Yeah, it's like 24 to 27 or something like that. I don't know.
24, but if you include my Navy time, it's almost 30.
Almost 30 years, which is a long time. If I would have got started when I was 7, I would have had 30 years too by now. And that's the way it goes.
Yep. All right, John Israel. John called me 61.
61, that's right.
That's all right. No, that was you that called me 61.
Yeah, John called you 50-something, and knowing that was not your age, I said you were 61 to kind of further the point.
Yeah.
Practically, on death's door.
I know.
But that's okay. But you did something today you hadn't done in a long time, which is release a video.
Oh, yeah, I did do that, didn't I?
Yeah, it is. Even though this airs a week later, your video has been up for a week now when people hear it, but we just recorded right after you released it, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm excited that it's, when, I don't know about you, but once I upload that thing to YouTube, I watch it so many times while I edit it, I never see it again. So when I get comments on videos, I have to go kind of remind myself, what was that video about?
I do that all the time. I can't remember what they're about. Sometimes I just don't comment because I don't actually remember what happened.
Well, yeah, me either. I mean, I don't comment a lot, and I don't mean to not comment, but it's just, it takes a lot to answer all the comments. And so
it is. Especially for you popular guys.
Yeah, well, you're just as popular as me.
I don't get that many comments, though, compared to you guys. I see you guys, as soon as you upload a video, 100,000 people watch it, and every single one of them have to comment, tell you how great you are.
Well, not all of them. Trust me.
No, not all of them.
There's some that said, where the hell did you come up with that idea at? Speaking of ideas, man, every day, we do things in the field, and we do them because that's what we were taught, right?
Right.
And if you step over that line and what you were taught, then everybody else was taught the same way. And then, so if you step over that line, then it's just like, you shouldn't be doing that, or you can't do that, or you're not supposed to do it like that because it's always been done like this, and that's how you're supposed to do it. Right. And then you get called all kind of names because you do something out of the norm, right?
That's right. Out of the box thinking is confused with hacking something, I guess we could say.
Yeah,
that.
Right. So the other day, and I've never done this, and I've been in the field for 24 years, and I was changing a coil, and I said, well, you know what? It does take a long time to pull a vacuum on the whole system because you have the oil in the compressor, you're having to fight all that stuff.
Right.
So I recovered all the refrigerant out of the system. And while I was doing it, I got a bright idea. I said, you know what? I'm going to get this thing recovered all the way. I'm going to close the valves on the condenser. So that way, when I do change the coil, actually, it was that system with the coil that I just released, the video.
Right.
I'll just close the valves, and so that way, when I do pull a vacuum, I'll only have to pull a vacuum on the line set in the coil. And it worked like a champ. I converted it over to 407C, and the people are cooling greatly.
Let me ask you a question to start off with. The first thing I would think about when you said that is, since the condenser wasn't vacuumed, was it left in a slight positive pressure?
Well, it's always, even if you pull a vacuum and it goes and you get it down into a vacuum, and you close the valves, there's oil, there's refrigerant still in the oil. So it's still going to off gas. So yeah, it was in a vacuum, but it really wasn't, because as soon as I pull my recovery machine off of it, it's automatically going to start, the pressure is automatically going to start rising because of the off gas.
Right. Like you have your hoses in the van and then you put all your hoses back together and you see the pressure going up, up, up while you're sitting there idle with your hoses.
Exactly. So that's why I never leave. I always take the refrigerant out of the hoses. Always.
Oh yeah, me too.
And the reason I do is because very early in my career, I had those low loss fittings, and of course the only way to get rid of refrigerant on those is you had to unscrew it from the manifold.
Right.
And then your manifold gets all oily and whatnot, and that's why I switched over to the valves. The ball valves.
Right.
I ruined a set of gauges because of the pressure in the hoses.
What happened? They explode or something in the back of the truck?
No, they just the needle just went all the way over to retard, and I couldn't get it to reset. So
your gauges are retarded.
That's the reason. Yeah, and that gauge was retarded on me. They had a heat stroke in the back of that van. So that's the reason I always drain my hoses, because I see that question a lot.
Yeah. I always do it because I'm worried about like the digital gauges and stuff having their sensors damaged by having pressure on them constantly.
Right. Oh, I know. That's fine. So I always take the refrigerant out of the hoses. I know the young guys always ask that question because I see it a lot. And another question I always see is, should I have different hoses for different refrigerants?
Yeah, we didn't even talking about that, but that's a great question.
And the answer is no. Why would you? I know guys are, I don't want to contaminate the system by having 410 and having R22 mixed together in the hoses, but you really don't. The refrigerant isn't left in the hose. Maybe a little oil residue, but
right.
The other day I actually made a mistake, and I had two systems, and one was newer and one was older. Well, I put my gauges on the older one and looked at the tag, and it was 410A. Well, without looking, and this is why you should always look at what you're working on, the newer system was a R22 unit.
Huh, like a dry charge or something?
No, it was back in the days where you could still get, where you could get either one. So I put my gauge on there. I didn't bleed the hose because I knew I was going to be working on checking the freon on the other unit, thinking it was 410A, and put my gauge on there, and voila. Like, this unit is low. And I was like, but the pressure's... So I looked, and sure enough, it was 22. Yeah. But, I think every one of us has done something like that before.
I have definitely. I remember the last unit I did it on was a gas pack that I thought was 410A, but it was R22.
Yeah, and you gotta be careful, because there was a time when you could get 22 or 410. When you could get either unit, and depending on who it was, I don't like that 410 stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I was at a supply house one day, and the guy wanted to buy all the dry shipped units that he could get because he did not want to mess with R22.
They're still out there? 410.
No, this has been a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. I was like, man, where's this guy finding dry shipped units?
Yeah, several years ago.
Well, I'll tell you something about the mix and oils thing. I mean, when anybody asks a guy like me or you, the answer is pretty obvious. Since we're dumping 407 with a mixture of oils into a unit, we obviously approve of them mixing together because we do it all the time. You with your BMP, POE, and me with my 15% on top of it. I mean, it's really, obviously, I mean, we don't care because we're doing it every retrofit.
Right, exactly. And and I remember the argument from in the beginning when y'all first started doing it, And I wasn't part of the argument, but I was leaning towards the you shouldn't be doing that kind of thing.
Right.
Um, but I have really, crossed the line and said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. On a 20-something-year-old unit, a 12-year-old unit, 13-year-old unit, even if you did the right thing, you might get in your truck and drive away, and that thing die the next day.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
So if it's because remember, it's been running low on refrigerant. That's why you're putting refrigerant in it. So, and they probably had it gassed up a couple of times, and as well as I do, they're not out there watching that unit, and they're not taking temperature of the line to tell you, hey, this thing is low. I need to call the technician. What do? They wait till it freezes up.
That's right.
And when it freezes up, where does all the oil go? The oil leaves the compressor, and it doesn't make it back.
That's right. Logs up in the evaporator.
It gets stuck in the evaporator, or it gets stuck somewhere, on the way. And then so that compressor, probably 3 or 4 times, is it's overheating. So that it's on its, it's getting close to the end anyway. So if you put 407C or one of the other refrigerants in, are you really doing that much damage to the compressor that hadn't already been done?
I think it's a hard thing to talk about because you put the 407C in, you got a compressor that's about to die, a system that's about to die probably within the next few years at least, and then people who are against it, they would say, let's say it dies the next year, it's been through hell already, but they're going to say, what's your 407C?
407C. Yeah, that's what caused it.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that because there's no way to really tell because it's already been through hell already.
Yeah, I had a customer ask me the other day, well, if you change the evaporator, what about the outdoor unit? And they're trying to sell the house. Hmm. And we can do a story. We can do another next podcast. We can do who really cares about the brand inside their house.
Okay, we can do that.
Because it's one of those things when, well, I'm going to sell my house, so I want this in there. So we'll talk about that one because I always get into it with the homeowner about which brand they should put into the house.
Sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, it is. And once I explain it to them, they're like, oh, wow, really? That makes sense. Well, yeah. Didn't just start doing this yesterday.
What is day and night?
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's United Technologies, man. Well, I've never heard of United Technologies. You ever heard of Carrier? Yeah, I have, actually. I just heard a commercial on the radio.
Yep, that's what I'm selling. Oh, you're selling a green speed? No, just a little bit lower than that.
A little bit lower than that. A little bit lower than that, but
get you 5
still the
speed.
Same thing.
Yeah,
hey,
that's right.
My thermostat is, I'll have to tell you, I have to look at my little phone here to see because I can't see the thermostat from where I'm sitting. I'll tell you, my little 5-speed. Go over to the app here.
Are we going to give it a humidity number now? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, it's 52%, but I'm at 76.
That's pretty good.
And it's fixing to rain outside.
Yeah, so you're gonna have some 100% humidity outside.
Outside and at 50%, and it's 76 in the house, and I don't care how old John thinks I am. It's comfortable in my house.
Well, being 142 years old, I mean, I know you're cold.
Yeah. So anyway, so what we got going on tonight?
Well, that's a great segue, Ralph. I like that. We have Brent Ridley coming in, and we're going to talk, I'm sure, at length about the Zoomlock and anything Brent related. I mean, we could talk about Carrier stuff, but I think Brent wants to talk about the Zoomlock, and I think that's what a lot of guys care about. What do you think, without using it, what's your opinion of it?
I think the Zoomlock, for the right guy and the right job, is an awesome tool. We talked about this on one of the podcasts about me going to the Sporlan factory and seeing the whole bank of refrigeration stuff in their lab, and every joint was Zoomlocked. Wow. So I had firsthand seeing whole jobs done with it, and if it their whole lab is done with it, and if anything in their lab goes down, I mean they have a ton of equipment in this big building, and so if they have a bunch of leaks, you know, I think it's an awesome thing.
They must really trust the Zoomlock.
Well, yeah, uh, it did have the 2,500 psi test, and like I said, that copper burst before the fitting. So, but I want to tell you about Brent. Brent lives pretty close to me. He lives probably 45 minutes away from me, and my service area used to cover it was pretty big.
Right.
And now that Brent lives where he lives, and referring guys is tough. You can't just refer,
right.
You just can't refer people.
Do you trust your guys as much as Sporlan trusts the Zoomlock?
Exactly. So, but Brent, he has taken a lot off of me, because if I get calls over in his area, I'm sorry, I don't go in that area anymore, or I don't go to that area anymore. But I have a guy that does, and I give them his number, and I say he will treat you really good. Matter of fact, the girl that I'm seeing, I get a call from her daughter, and she said, "My dad's air conditioner is broke. Would you come look at it?" And I said, well, meaning her ex-husband, the girl I'm seeing is ex-husband.
Right. What an interesting way to say it. You say it's not ex-husband, it's the girl's dad.
Yeah, well, but they've been divorced for 26 years. So,
oh, wow.
So it's not like they're, whatever. So I find out that he lives a little too far away. And if it just needed to be fixed, I would have went over there and took care of it. But it needed to be replaced. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to drive all the way over there and replace this unit, because if I have a warranty, so that guy's the type of guy that would, I know that he would be demanding that I get there, that if it broke. I was like, I can't do that, because he lives, Gainesville's an hour and 15 minutes from me, an hour and a half away from me. And I was like, I'm not going over there. So I gave it to Brent, and Brent, he never called Brent up.
No, I never heard from him. I would have been glad to go out there and take care of it, but I never heard from him.
Speaking of which one called you that I gave Brent 2 calls yesterday.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Well, actually,
Jimmy, the old guy.
Actually, he called me. I took care of him.
What was it? Low on Freon?
No, he had a blown cap, and it was a couple pounds low on Freon.
Oh, you'll be changing that one.
It's old. It's old guy. I told him he didn't have much time left, and he was cool with it. He understood. And then there was a quote that was literally like 2 minutes down the road from here, and he said that you referred him because his dad had used you or something.
2 of the systems that I didn't remember. Of course, you do enough of them, you don't remember all these.
No. And the guy, I went over there this morning.
He was a young guy.
Yeah, he was a really young guy. Had a young kid and everything, and he was a nice guy, very nice guy. And I gave him a quote, but I don't think I'll get it because he was really interested in some financing.
Oh yeah.
I don't offer that right now.
I don't either. And the reason why is because I refuse to let the finance company take money out of my bank account.
Well, I looked into it, and I looked into Wells Fargo because that's what Carrier Mueller pushes a lot.
Right.
And they wanted something. They offer the customer 0%.
It's like 11%.
Yeah, but they charge us, the contractor, like 11 to 12%.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. So they try to say put it on every install, but it doesn't. I can't do that, man. It doesn't break it down enough for me, and I don't feel right doing that.
No, the girl told me on the phone, because I called them, and I was like, not Wells Fargo, but FTL. That's the one that Ed uses. And she told me, because I asked her about that, she said, well, what a lot of guys do is they just add 11% to every invoice. Mm-hmm. Every invoice. And I'm like, I don't want my other customers paying for somebody else's install.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
That's not right. So I'm not going to do financing. I don't care. If they need it financed, they can go somewhere else.
Well, I think there's some other ones out there. There's GE, but it's not GE. It's actually a different company. I can't remember what the name is. And there's some others I want to look into, but I don't even know if those will be worth a damn.
There's also something else you can do is you can go talk to your local finance company, like Franklin Finance or something like that, and say, look, you know, what do y'all offer these people? You know, so I thought about doing that, but yeah.
But you know, this honestly is the very first one that I can remember that I think I'm going to lose the job because they don't offer financing.
I would have been pissed to drive all the way over to Sugar Hill, and he was right over there by Jimmy too.
Yeah. Jimmy lives maybe 10 minutes the other way, and this guy lives like 2 minutes the other way from me. So it was both of them were really close.
And they both live over by Mitsubishi.
Yep,
it's right down the street.
Yeah, Jimmy's actually really close to Mitsubishi.
Yeah, he really is. So, but they were pretty close to you, though, right?
Oh, they were. Yeah, both of them. Like I say, the guy this morning, he was really close to me, and Jimmy's not far at all either.
If you guys haven't noticed that Brent has joined us, this is Brent Ridley, and we haven't actually got any introduction in here just yet. So, Brent, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do in HVAC?
What's up, guys? I've been in the field for about 16 years now. I primarily worked out of Savannah and Hilton Head, down in Savannah, Georgia, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I moved up here to the northern Atlanta area a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, and I opened up a HVAC side of the company to my dad's company. He had an already existing plumbing company, so I opened up a HVAC side to it. It's worked out really well so far, and you know, I'm just out here trying to make it like everybody else, man.
Absolutely. Well, you know, going from working down there in Savannah to coming up there working for your dad, you know, working for your dad is something I understand very much so. How big was a change going to work with your dad instead of working basically for another person?
It was an eye opener because I used to be a technician, used to go to work and come home. You know, I didn't see a whole lot of the ins and outs of the business side of the things and try to take care of all that stuff. So it's very enlightening. But it's awesome. I really like it. I don't know that I could ever go back to working for somebody else now that I work for myself, because it's just the freedom and the way I can do things the way I want to do them now.
That's exactly. How much input do you have on some of the business stuff? I mean, is it 50-50, or do you control the entire HVAC division?
Yeah, I run the whole HVAC side, and he runs the plumbing side. That way we don't step on each other's toes, and it works out great. You know, it's about a 50-50 draw. The plumbing is bigger than the HVAC side just because the plumbing's been around for 25 years up here. But he's got himself and 2 other plumbers that with him, and then the HVAC right now. But we're bringing on somebody. We just bought a truck, so we're bringing on somebody else for the HVAC side. So there'll be 2 of us pretty soon.
Well, that's pretty good, man. What area do you service? So anyone listening to this, wherever they may be, know sort of where your boundaries are.
Sure. Our office is located in Cumming, Georgia, and we do Cumming, Alpharetta, Dawsonville. We do down in Gwinnett County. We do Suwannee, Beaufort, Duluth. And we'll go a little bit further down. We'll go down towards Atlanta if they need be, if they call us stuff. But we try to stay up towards the north end. That way we don't have to go in the city too much.
Is it true that Ralph will actually send you his worst calls that he doesn't want to do, so your guys can do them?
Absolutely. No, Ralph sends us some good calls, man. I really appreciate what Ralph does and sends us the calls, man. It's great. When we first started out, we needed that extra little bit of business, and he helped us out with it tremendously, and it's awesome. I could never thank him enough for it.
I'm telling you, Brent has been a godsend to me because, like I said, I developed a relationship with some of those customers. Like the one I sent you on Friday, the Jimmy guy. Mm-hmm. I developed a relationship with him because he was an old Navy guy, and we'd talk for a while before I'd leave or whatever, and then I just couldn't get out there anymore. It's just too far for me. So Brent's really been a godsend.
Well, yeah, it doesn't make sense to drive an hour for a service call.
But some of it, sometimes you go over there, the switch is turned off, or like what I was talking about earlier about the guy needing a complete system, but he lives an hour and a half from me. To me, to drive an hour and a half to change a system, and then you have a warranty call, and the guy's like, "Hey, just paid you all this money." Oh, well, I can't get there right now. So, and that's another reason I stopped driving over there. You know, it was too much for me. Right. In the beginning, it was okay because I didn't have that much business, but in Home Advisor, Brent is getting to reap some of the benefits of Home Advisor.
Your Home Advisor?
My Home Advisor calls, yeah. Because that Jimmy, yeah, all those calls over there, they all came from Home Advisor.
Oh, okay.
So it does work, and look, it trickles down.
That's nice. It's not an intended use of Home Advisor. You know, you just filter your leads over to Brent, and he'll still pay him for the leads. That's great.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, not paying for them anymore, but yeah. So Home Advisor is actually helping Brent out, and he didn't even know it.
Didn't even know it. I've never really been a fan of Home Advisor. Maybe.
No, but hey, I
have to rethink it now.
I've got a lot.
Exactly.
I used to get a lot of calls from them, so it's a great stepping stone for somebody just starting in business.
I actually read the other day that maybe Angie's List and Home Advisor were merging together.
Oh my God!
I haven't heard that one yet.
That wow. Angie's a smart woman.
She's intelligent.
She's
a monster company.
Mm-hmm. Started at her kitchen table.
Is that what she says? Is that in a commercial or something? I can see that.
No, I'm assuming that the idea for that company started at the kitchen table or in the shower one.
Some contractor screwed her over. That's probably where it started.
Probably was. So anyway, well, Brent, you do use the Zoomlock probably more than most of everybody. You and Brad Hicks, y'all use it a lot.
Yeah, Brad Hicks would give me a run for my money, man. No, I use the Zoomlock a lot. We were going to buy a Pro Press for the plumbing water lines and whatnot. So I did my research, and I realized that Sporlan was going to make the heads for the Zoomlock that fit in the rigid Pro Press machine.
Right.
So I bought the rigid Pro Press machine a good year or two before the jaws came out. But right. I bought it. And then when the jaws came out, I slowly started buying one at a time. I didn't buy the whole kit. I got one at a time, and I have all the way up to. I don't have 1 1/8, but I have all the way up to 7/8.
Right.
And that includes 1/4 inch, 3/8, half, 5/8 and 7/8, and a 3/4. And
well, I don't know about. Let me interrupt you for a second. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I can't remember last time I had to do anything with 1 1/8. So well, I mean,
that's funny that you say that. I got a commercial property that I'm changing out 3 5-ton ACs on. Right. And it's an old train unit, and they have 1 1/8.
Right.
But the new units are 7/8, so I just got to put a reducer on it. So right. on that instance, I won't be able to use the Zoomlock.
Now I've talked to them about making reducing fittings.
Oh, they do. They do have it. I have reducing fittings, and if I just don't have the 1 1/8
and you don't have the 1 1/8.
If I had the 1 1/8 jaw, I could use it.
Right.
Like I said, I just bought another $500 worth of fittings Friday. I got Artie Michael to bring them in for me, and wow. I got them because I use them all the time. What I do is on the bell housing on the condenser, I chop off the bell housing on the liquid.
Don't use the hacksaw, do you?
No.
Did you hear my story?
No, I heard that story. Yeah,
Did you hear? That's a crazy story.
That's wild, man. That's
no
wild.
Hacksaws for Brent.
That's good. So, that's really good.
What I actually have to do, though, is I have to take the screws out of the valve that hold it down and lift it up so I can get my little small cutter all the way around it. Cut it off.
Now, does the head, do you put the screw back in before you use a Pro Press? Or
no, I'll crimp it, then I'll put the head back down on there.
Okay.
I'll crimp one side of it. I'll crimp the side that's closest to the unit. Then I'll screw it back down, and then I'll crimp the other.
Right. Sporlan was talking about making valves just for the Zoomlock.
Well, they do have valves, but you would have to change out the whole valve. Yeah, I'm not going to do that on a brand new unit. You'd have to recover all the refrigerant and all that stuff. But they did just come out with filter dryers, which I have a couple on order. They should be here hopefully next week. And they don't have Zoomlock fittings on each side. They have 3/8
straight.
Straight, yeah. It's not a coupling end on it, so you just put 2 couplings on the side of it, and you'd be good to go from there.
Right.
Here's a good question. How much are 3/8 couplings and how much is that dryer?
The dryer is $30.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's average.
No.
What about heat pump dryer though?
No.
The heat pump dryer is going to be expensive.
It is. Yeah. You know what? I honestly don't know that the ones I ordered were heat pump or straight cool. I'll have to take a look at that. I don't remember.
They have to make those dryers. I mean, they have to make those dryers special because every other dryer has a swedged end on it.
Yep.
So
exactly. And the 3/8 couplings are maybe $8-10 a piece, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice. That's not too bad.
Yeah. By the time you
get into some of the sub-mates stuff though. Some of the sub-mates fittings and couplings are pretty expensive. You end up paying $25 for a dang elbow, on the sub-mate stuff.
Wow.
Now, speaking of elbows, I've always wondered this. Now, I've seen some pictures of you doing the work, and instead of using a bender, you use the elbow. Would it not be more cost effective just to use a bender and bend the pipe and then use your?
Probably so, but I'm gonna be real honest with you right here. I've never really figured out the magic of a bender.
I just do it by looks. I mean, I just do it by.
I've tried it and I've tried it and I've tried it and it just never ends up looking real like I want it to look. It doesn't look good, and I'll make the bend either too far one way or the other or whatever.
Right.
And I just honestly I haven't figured out the magic. So to me, it's a lot quicker just to chop it up and put it together and go from there.
Right, because somebody asked me on one of the videos I did, how do you figure out where to bend it? And I can just look, I can just hold the bender up and kind of see where I need to bend it, where that copper is supposed to turn.
Yeah.
And I just do it, and it works.
There's definitely some skill involved in that, and it's something that I haven't gotten yet. And you're absolutely right. It probably would be cost effective to do it, but to me,
because at $25 a 90 or whatever, it's
But you think about it this way: you're not
brazing.
You don't have to worry about flowing your nitrogen. You don't got your oxygen acetylene. You don't have.
No,
your
I agree.
rod.
Hey, look, the other day when I did a coil up in the attic, you know what I mean? And I did a video, and in the video I said, look, my torches are still here from yesterday. They were still up in the attic. I didn't want to take them down. I didn't want to take them down because I was so burnt out. It was so hot up there, and so I just left my torches up there that day.
And I'll tell you, I don't want to cut you off, but the reason
go ahead.
The reason I bought the filter dryers was for a specific. I have a carrier rooftop unit that has a clogged filter dryer on it.
Right.
And it's on that church that I was telling you about. So I thought about it, and I said, well, they have those. Let me order one in because this church can wait. It's running. It's a 2-circuit unit, so it's running on 1 circuit, and they're fine right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tools in a bucket. I'm going to put the dryer in the bucket. I'm going to put 2 couplings in the bucket. I'm going to put the Zoomlock tool with the right jaw on it and pull it up there and then cut it loose and crimp it back in there and be good to go.
Hey, and you know what you don't have to do then? You cut it loose and you're going to do it fast enough so it's still off gassing. So guess what you don't have to do?
You don't have to vacuum if it's still on positive pressure. Exactly.
Well, so that's 3 of us now that agree. That's good.
No, hey, Jim Bergman agrees too.
If Jim Bergman says it, we're good to go.
Hey, he called me one day. And he said, I cannot believe these guys are still commenting on that video. And I cannot believe that they're not using common sense enough to understand that there's still refrigerant in that system and it is blowing out. But me and Zach talked about it the other day, and during a hot day, you can actually see the refrigerant coming out of the pipe.
Absolutely. If
you just look, you can see it, vaporizing out of there. So
as long as it's under positive pressure still, you do not have to pull a vacuum because there's no way it can pull in any moisture or anything like that.
So there you go.
We're going to take the world by storm, Ralph. We're going to change this thing from people thinking inside the box to out of the box, doing a whole lot more work they don't have to do.
Exactly. We are doing more work than because I remember many times changing, checking a piston or whatever and pulling a vacuum afterwards. It was like all that wasted time.
Yeah.
So
that's right. Yeah.
You know, it definitely is a, you know, let's take the world by storm and people stop doing, you know, inside the box thinking. Well, think outside the box.
It goes right along with, you know, doing that, and like Brent's talking about the zoom lock. It's the same sort of thing. People think you have to do it a certain way, and Sporlan comes along and tells you that you're going to crimp this pipes together. You don't have to braze anymore. People are like, I don't think so. They're going to leak. There's going to be some sort of problem. But now we've heard it for years and years now that they don't leak. Ralph saw it at the factory. Brent, you've been doing it for how long now with the zoom lock?
I've been well. The first one I zoom locked was in fall of 2015. The first zoom lock fittings that I have out there, because that was before the rigid jaws came back. Sporlan actually let me borrow a zoom lock tool, and I put fittings on our office unit, and I put fittings on my house unit. So they're still there now as we speak. And one of them is R22. Our office unit is R22, and it's still kicking.
Yeah, well, like I said, I got to see the Sporlan lab firsthand, and every one of their fittings on the refrigeration bank, they must have cut all their brace fittings off and redid everything with the zoom lock, because every one of their brace fittings is zoom lock. And you know, that's the whole lab. You know, we talked about this during the intro that, you know, you weren't part of, but it was amazing. I got to see the testing part where they did the 2,500 PSI test, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I trust a zoom lock crimp more than my own brazing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, just don't get the hacksaw.
I know, yeah. I know if I crimp that thing and I you know, like, I measure the pipe and make sure it's all the way in there. I know if I crimp it, it's not going to leak. I'm 100% positive of that. And, you know, if you do it right, I don't think you're going to have a problem. Of course, there's going to be those instances, but if you do it right, most of the time you will never have an issue.
No.
Now, my follow-up question to all that good stuff would be, in a service capacity, have you been able to use it?
Well, let's just say I did do one evaporator coil on a rooftop unit a while back when they let me borrow the original tool. Since then, I really haven't used it for. I did repair a leak the other day. I had a leak that I put in a unit. I had a leak. I fixed that, but since then I haven't really used it in a service capacity. I use it more as installed. Mm-hmm. But it can. I see the advantages for service capacity, because I think if I haven't come across one lately, but if you have like a reversing valve problem, it would be perfect for that.
Can you fit the jaws? Can you fit the jaws in between the reversing valve? I mean, in between the three ports.
You know, maybe.
Well, I don't know. Well,
but I'm thinking more like. Yeah, I'm thinking cutting it loose. Then you got the at least what you may have to do at the very minimum is cut it loose
and braze it on the ground.
Braze it on the ground. That way you can work on the daggum thing.
Right.
And then put it back in there and crimp it where you're having to stand on your head and whatnot. You know?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, I like that idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Some reversing valves come with kits that already have the stubs on them, so that'd be kind of perfect. That'd be nice.
Yeah, they need them with stubs on them.
They done it. I knew Goodman had them with stubs on them already.
Good old Goodman.
Yeah, good old Goodman. If you're expecting an argument, Ralph, you're on the wrong podcast.
I said we love Goodman on it.
That's not true either.
Hey.
We're just not going to address it right now.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about brand.
I'm neutral on that discussion.
I am too.
That's good. We'll just go on past it.
I will bring this up. The only thing I have against Goodman is their online sales, and it's kind of a sticking point for me that bothers me more than anything.
Right. It's understandable. I'm sure Ralph hates that too, don't you, Ralph?
Yeah, I really do.
So
I really do. I had a guy text me the other day. Hey, we want to finish our basement, but we want to get a price from you, and then a price if we buy the unit online. You know what I didn't do? I didn't text them back.
Well, that's right. I had someone do that same thing to me the other day. Said, I want to buy a unit. How much would it cost for you to put it in? And I told them, what do you think it's going to cost? They said $1,000.
Yeah.
I said, good day. Because you're never going to be up to where the actual price is.
Yeah, actually, I had a customer, but I gave him to Brent too, the guy that owns the dojo.
Oh yeah.
And we did his basement, and he's one of those guys that I really like the guy, but he's just too far away. And his basement system went out, and it was way oversized. Actually, they had I think there was a 4-ton on a 2-ton load. I mean, it was really oversized. So anyway, and I hate to admit it, but the guy was like, and I gave him a price, and he was like, man, I just wasn't ready for that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go online. And I said, well, you know what? Give me the price that you're going to pay for it. Give me the price you're going to pay for it. And so he did. And I said, look, I'll sell you the unit for the same price. And this way you'll have a warranty. You know what I mean? I did okay on the install. So, sometimes I know guys are really against that because that's just promoting. Well, somebody out there will do the job. You know what I mean? But somebody's going to do the job anyway, whether you do it or not. And, it's just, I don't know. It's one of those deals where it's a touchy subject and it's a fine line.
You're just a nice guy, Ralph. I think I would have said no thanks.
Well, it is what it is.
But you're nice, so that's what that happens.
I'm not going to do it anymore.
Don't become something you're not. I mean, keep doing those jobs for those online sales. Someone's got to do them, right? Just like you said.
Somebody's going to do them. No, I'm not going to do it anymore. Not going to do them. I'm just not going to do it. I'd rather sell an inverter.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, speaking of that, I know we talked about the Zoomlock, and Brent, I take it your overall opinion is that you love the Zoomlock. Am I right?
Absolutely. And I would suggest anybody who has any doubts to try it for themselves and see. Don't knock it till you try it, kind of thing.
Absolutely. I'm going to Ralph. I need to borrow $3,000 so I can try it as well.
Well, actually, I don't know if they're still doing the deal or not, but
they are, Ralph.
Yeah, if you buy $2,500 worth of fittings, you get the tool for free. They're not advertising it, but if you get with your local Sporlan rep, he will make that happen.
I thought it was like 600 fittings or I don't know 100 fittings.
I heard it was $2,500 worth. That's what my guy told me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I didn't know how long that was going to be good for, but he told me this a couple months ago.
Wow.
Well, I saw it the other day where they were advertising it online, so it's still going.
Oh, really? So yeah, so it's supply houses don't know about it, I don't think, but the local Sporlan rep can tell you.
I may ask old Dennis from Sporlan if I can borrow one for like a week so I could try it out.
Well, that's what I suggest you do because they did let me borrow one, Zach, and hell, I don't have a podcast or nothing, man. I suggest you do that.
Now I bet
they'd work it out.
Yeah, I think they would too, probably. Yeah, I might try that. I might get in touch with them on Monday here and see if I can't just, I just want to mess around with it a little bit. It's not like I don't know if I'll ever use it or not. I want to try it out.
Yeah, they brought it when they came to, because they came to see me last year. They came to my house and they brought the Zoomlock out and we did a couple of fittings. I have them in my office, but I was just like, I don't do as many installs or whatever. So I was like, this thing would set my truck for a while, and I wasn't like Brent as inventive as he is and said, well, I'll just cut the bell off of it. I'm sure I would love that because I don't have to drag the torches and get the nitrogen and stuff out.
Yeah, that does sound pretty awesome. Slinging in a condenser and won't have to get the torches out. That sounds like a beautiful thing.
Yeah, especially if you're
fantastic.
Especially you're up in the attic by yourself and you have to go down 3 floors to get to the outdoor unit. You have to run up and down hills because Brent will tell you the kind of hills we have here.
Some of them are terrible.
It's not a level lay of the land, is it?
No. Like I say, I worked in Savannah most of my career, and then I come up here, and it's like, holy shit! Some of these,
that's a total.
Some of these houses are damn on an incline. I feel like the truck's gonna flip over backwards when I drive up their driveway.
Exactly.
Everybody can understand Ralph's block obsession now.
Yeah. Do you use cat blocks, Brent? I mean, some of these places you have to.
You have to some places, I have a few times, yeah, but if you got to, you got to kind of thing.
A lot of times what I do is sometimes, it's just level enough to where one side of the pad will be almost in the dirt. So then you get the risers and set up on risers, and you don't really have to worry about it.
Well, I'll tell you how much of an incline some of these places are, and what I have to deal with to get these units in place. On my dolly where I truck the condensers, I have a ratchet strap that's permanently hooked to my dolly, so I can ratchet the condenser to the dolly to where it doesn't tip over when I'm trying to pull it up some of these hills or pull it up down some of these crazy terrains that we have.
Hey, my son, when he was working with me, that's what he would do, because he would, I'd be walking outside and the trailer would be all loaded up. I'm like, damn, I'm glad you're here. But that's what he would do. He'd get the strap and strap it on the hand truck.
Well, Ralph, I remember you rolling units up and down hills. Is what I remember from your video.
Yeah. That was the easiest way to get it there.
You paint this classy picture, but you just roll your stuff down a hill is what I saw.
That's right. New or not.
Compressor oil redistribution with Ralph.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I was working on a job, and we had this big neighborhood. It's called Big Canoe. And I don't know, have you heard of it, Brent?
Yeah, we have a few plumbing customers up there, but we don't have any HVAC.
Well, let me tell you, I was working on one of the condensers one day, and there's not a lot of foot room up there in some of these places where the units are. If
you push one of them down some of those hills, you'll never see that condenser again.
Well, there's a drum, a R22, at the bottom of one of those ravines somewhere.
That's pretty good.
It went rolling down, and fortunately, it wasn't a $900 worth of.
Oh my gosh! There'll be guys with grappling hooks going down there tomorrow.
I'm sure it's all rusted up by now, but
oh my god!
Yeah, they went rolling down the hill. Pop, 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 pop.
I want to thank Brent for coming on the show again. And if you guys are in the Cummings area in Georgia and you need HVAC service or installation, call Brent at H&M Services 770-844-8405. Brent at HNMServiceInc.com.